You're listening to Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. We're coming to you from the unceded traditional territories of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh nations around Vancouver, BC. I'm your host, Bernadine Fox, and this is the show that dares to change how we think about mental health. Welcome to ReThreading Madness.
When I've never been further from knowing what the hell I'm gonna do, when I can't seem to find my way under or over or through.
You're listening to ReThreading Madness on Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. I'm Bernadine Fox, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Seema Shah. Seema is a powerhouse. She is a self-taught visual artist and writer. And alongside her own creative practice, Seema is the organizer of Professional Artistic Growth Made Accessible, and thank God she wrote that down for me, which is a project that offers free professional development opportunities to Vancouver visual artists and writers who live with the experience of mental health issues. She recently co-edited Off the Map. She's also an author in Off the Map, which is about Vancouver writers with lived experience of mental health issues. She did this alongside Betsy, Warland, and Kate Bird, and has been published this May in Bell Press. So welcome, Seema. Thank you for coming and chatting with us.
Thank you so much for having me and for calling me a powerhouse. I wasn't expecting that.
Well, you really are. I think that people who do what you do often don't realize how much you're doing for other people. And so I just want to make that clear. I think it's important that we celebrate our heroes, and I think you're one of them. So tell me about the professional. Well, actually, no, let's start with you. Tell me about your own creative practice.
It's kind of grown very organically. I mean, it started quite a few years ago, not really with intention, but, after the onset of chronic illness, and I live with both physical and mental health challenges, and I kind of took a detour in life and started off more with writing, and that started off really with journaling more than trying to write anything creatively. But over time, I became more interested in trying to craft some of those experiences in a creative way. And my focus for quite a few years was writing. And then everything just sort of evolved naturally. And I had a kind of a setback with my health, and I was in bed a lot, and I was unable to write in the way that I had been writing, and really focus for long periods of time and kind of try to work on a narrative that I could follow through on. And so I started to I challenged myself to this. I got this idea from something I had seen and kind of modified it to suit my life at the time. And it was about a decade ago, where I saw these little tags that I saw somebody who they were doing this project, this kind of personal challenge, that they were going to do something on this one of these little tags every day for the year to come. And it was more around doing some sort of positive affirmations. But I thought I was going to do something quite different than that, but just because I wasn't doing anything creative, and I felt like I just wanted to do something, but something that felt manageable, that I could commit to. And it was just to do something creative on one of these tags every day. And it could be just writing a word, or it could be doing something like a little scribble or drawing. And so that kind of started things off for me in terms of starting to gravitate towards collage. I wasn't doing really much visual at all prior to that. And I really just started to focus on collage. And after that year is when I really just kind of committed to, not even like, again, not with intention, but it's just like, I'm going to start working on more collages, because I I really enjoyed it, and everything I was working on was so tiny. Um, and it just kind of grew from there. And it wasn't even that I decided, oh, I'm gonna focus on visual art and not write. I didn't quite know. I was just letting things grow as they did and see where things went.
That's wonderful. I think everybody has an artist inside of them, even the ones that think that they can't draw a straight line. And I teach drawing, so in my off time.
Mhm.
But it really is an amazing tool for even writing. I find is an amazing tool for helping people put things together that they couldn't put together before. There's something about it being non-narrative, I think, that helps us to put our thoughts together, perhaps.
I agree.
And you have a show coming up, and we'll talk about that at the end of your interview. I want to let people know that that's happening. You also started the Professional Artistic Growth Made Accessible for people with lived experience of mental health challenges. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how that came to be?
I can. That's a project that started in 2022, and it's funded. It has been funded by the Consumer Initiative Fund, which is a Vancouver coastal health program that funds projects that are proposed by individuals with lived experience of mental health issues. And there are also projects that need to be community based and benefiting people in the community. So that's kind of where things began for me. I did a smaller CIF, the acronym for Consumer Initiative Fund. I did a smaller CIF project in 2021 that was a sharing and discussion group for visual artists with lived experience of mental health issues. And that was really kind of this bigger project called Professional Artistic Growth Made Accessible kind of grew from that. And the reason I was interested in doing something like that was because an artist and writer, but with lived experience of mental health issues, along with just being a writer and artist, both of those experiences often in and of themselves are isolating. And
Mhm.
and especially being self-taught and not really being part of a community or like even knowing how to go about doing certain things when I was starting. I was looking for something that I could learn from other artists, and then I found that that was really valuable, learning from other artists as well as at the same time I had met Yuri Arais, who at the time was the director of Kickstart Disability Arts and Culture, and I had submitted work for a show. Like I had known him, but I had kind of reconnected with him. I met him when he was the director back in 2019 when I had work in a show, and he was the curator. And I met him when I dropped my work off there, and that was my first kind of connection with him. And really, I felt an immediate connection with him. But then in 2020, he opened Outsiders and Others, which is a gallery in Vancouver, and I connected with him there and volunteered at the gallery. So was working with him both as an artist in some of the shows there, as well as volunteering and learning a lot from him. And he's become and was a mentor then and has continued to be a mentor for me and many other artists as well. But I was kind of both of those experiences being part of this group project in 2021, as well as working with Yuri. I thought like, oh, it would be great if there was a way to combine all of this and, see if Yuri might be willing to partner with me on creating something that, if I could get some funding through the Consumer Initiative Fund where he could also, his expertise could be accessed by other people in the community as well. And so he was very open and interested in doing that. And so the project started with visual art, and he did some one-on-one consults, and the two of us co-facilitated some workshops. And those were around professional development because I think we both, in different capacities, but both were really interested in that, especially around mental health and really how work by artists with lived experience of mental health issues is, there's still stigma on how it's perceived, and really from the group I was doing, also recognizing that there's a lot of other artists out there who are very serious about their art and getting it out in the world and having it be seen, and moving forward in their careers as artists. So all of that kind of came together, and when we co-facilitated, the idea was bringing expertise and lived experience, like Yuri's professional expertise, his years of working as a gallerist and curator, and my experience as an artist with lived experience of mental health issues. Bringing those together and having the opportunity for artists in the community to meet each other as well and learn from each other.
Yes, so important. It's one of the most important things I think in life, is to find people who are a community you belong to, even if it's only you belong to part of it or belong to it in one part of your life. There's such an incredible benefit, healing benefit, to being around people that reflect who you are back to you. And so often I find, being a visual artist myself, that the world out there looks at people who have mental health challenges who do art as if it's therapy, not as if it's serious art, even though we come from, historically from, many, many artists who had mental health challenges, and that's what made their art so great. Even in this today, in our world today, we are often seen as people who are just doing therapy, and it's not serious art.
Exactly.
It's an expressive art, and so therefore not something that should be taken seriously within the whole of the art world. And it's just not true. People with mental health
Exactly.
challenges make incredible art, just incredible
I agree. And
art.
I think that was like a frustration for me, when I was trying to really pursue my art and got to the point. And yeah, that having one's art always kind of viewed through a different lens than art more generally.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, and I remember Jeff McMurtry also saying that about people who were in wheelchairs, that it was all kind of considered rehab. And it was, that was a long time ago, Jeff was saying that. So I'm hoping we're changing that, but who knows? So Professional Artistic Growth Made Accessible was a project that you did that provided professional assistance and mentoring to people who were artists with lived experience of mental health. Does that kind of sum it up?
Yeah, I mean, I think it still exists as a project, and it's
Mhm.
grown and evolved. And I think, like with most things that I've worked on with my own art and as part of this project, it's it's just seeing like how what the need seems to be and where interest lies and how things just naturally evolve over time. So for
Mhm.
the first year, it was just visual art. And the accessible part, that like in terms of professional artistic growth made accessible, the accessible is partly that all the opportunities are free, but also, when I think about accessible, I think about for for me when I was starting to do visual art and I had all these questions, and it's very daunting, like even thinking about like trying to if at the point where I was thinking maybe I want to submit my work somewhere, and how do I go about doing this, and writing an artist statement, all these things that are very daunting. Um, and I was looking for somebody to help me with that because I wasn't part of any art community, and I'm not trained. So I think the accessible part was especially with having this really fortunate connection with Yuri that I'm so grateful for. But having this project have consults with Yuri and these workshops as something that's putting that out there as something during that first year of the project. I think there were two things. One was that Yuri and I both saw that there was a need that was based upon the fact that the consults and the workshops really filled up right away, and we had wait lists for all the activities, which was really, it was great. It was for like, we were really excited that there seemed to be the interest in what was being offered, and the feedback was, you know, was very positive and encouraged us to continue with it. And there was also interest from the community in, inquiring whether these opportunities were available for writers as well, or if we were going to be offering similar opportunities for writers. And at that point, it was just focused on visual art. But that's when kind of the idea just, again, it's because it presented itself as something that people might be interested in, that I was thinking, like, how can this and how can this expand to include writing as well? And that's when I, kind of similar to approaching Yuri, I approached Betsy Warland, who had been my writing mentor, and asked her if, she wanted to and would be interested and open and available to do something similar, as what I had been doing with Yuri, and partnering with him in that way, to offer opportunities for writers.
And out of that came Off the Map.
Yeah, I mean, gradually it did. I mean, initially it was Betsy offering consults, and then some workshops, and really seeing that there was a lot of writing that was very unique, but just really wonderful writing by the writers she was working with one-on-one and in the workshops, and seeing that many of these writers had never been published before. And thinking, like, we had talked about it, and even like once the idea of writing being part of the project came about, I was thinking, what it would be really great if there was a way that there could be something parallel to an art exhibition. In the first year of the project, Yuri and I co-curated 2 exhibitions as part of the project that were exhibitions that were at Outsiders and Others.
Right.
And so in the same way, it was like, would there be a way, and would there be the interest? Because even in the first year, I think we were not sure how many submissions we'd get for the call for artists. And we were pleasantly surprised, not only by the number, but the quality of submissions. And we ended up making it 2 exhibitions. The idea initially was 1, or actually it was to have, it doesn't matter. But we had enough calls during that first year that that worked out really well.
And how many artists are in Off the Map? How many writers, artists?
There are 33 in total. Yeah, including Kate Bird, who's one of the other editors, and myself.
Okay. And you have a story in here called Waiting for the Greenhouse Effect.
I do, yes.
Any chance you can read us a portion of that?
I can. So just to give it a little bit of context, the piece of mine that's in the anthology it's a creative nonfiction piece about my experience at an inpatient creative arts therapy. And for this story, I've called it Meadowside. And just a really brief definition, I guess, of horticultural therapy is a therapeutic modality that uses gardening and plants to promote health and well-being. Horticultural therapy wasn't what I had envisioned. It didn't seem much like a horticultural experience, nor was it particularly therapeutic. Session number 1, aromatherapy. I realize aromatherapy uses essential oils derived from plants, but calling it horticultural therapy seemed like a bit of a stretch. And it wasn't like we spent the session making essential oils. The instructor just passed around vials of different oils, which we sniffed as he explained their healing properties. He also showed us a few Meadowside-made products, such as lotions and spritzers, that contained various combinations of essential oils. We didn't make any of these concoctions, although we were given a few recipes to make at home. However, We could buy them directly from the horticulture department if we wanted to shell out $20 for a small container. After learning about these products, we moved on to the next step, giving each other lengthy step-by-step hand massages using Meadowside hand cream. As we sat across the narrow table from each other, hand in hand, curious passersby stopped and stared down at us from a large window that overlooked the greenhouse. They were probably as confused as we were. Session number 2, herbal vinegars. Although we used herbs in our second session, it seemed more like a cooking class than anything else. The entire session was dedicated to making our very own bottle of herbal vinegar. The measured out herbs had already been laid out in an organized fashion on a paper placemat in front of each vinegar maker. We were given a tall bottle into which we placed each herb in the order given by the instructor. After this, we poured in the star ingredient and sealed the bottle shut. I did not find this very therapeutic. We then had 2 options: either spend $15 and buy the vinegar we just made, or leave it behind to be sold. At this point, I sensed a pattern emanating from Meadowside's greenhouse.
Yeah, that's a very telling story. Thank you for that. On its surface, it looks like it's, just a story about gardening and therapy, but the undertone of it is actually kind of sinister is the word I want to use. It reminds me of people being used who go to developmental disability, not that I know of any of that are happening, but I've seen and heard about it, that are going to a developmental disability, something or other, and they're made to make keychains that are then sold for the benefit, not of them, but of somebody else. And it to me, that's sinister. That's very sinister, and it treats people as workers as opposed to somebody trying to heal. It's a very different thing. Seema, thank you for coming and chatting with us. I have appreciated getting to know you, and I hope that I continue to know you as you move along and doing all the work that you're doing that is of benefit to so many other people. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it, and for your interest in the work, the project, as well as the anthology.
Yeah, well, the anthology is great, and I encourage people to go find it. It's called Off the Map, Vancouver Writers with Lived Experience of Mental Health Issues. It's edited by, as Seema said, Betsy, Warland, Kate Bird, and herself, and you can get it through Bell Press, which is Bell Press Books, all one word.com. So thank you, Seema.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we'll be right back, folks.
Tanuyap, Quiget Yuans Quinsna. Hi everybody, my name is Quiget Yuans. I'm a member of the Squamish Nation and the Yagalanas clan of the Haida Nation. You're listening to Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. We live, work, play, and broadcast from the traditional, ancestral, and unceded territories of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh Nations.
You're listening to ReThreading Madness on Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. I'm Bernadine Fox, and right now I have the pleasure of speaking with Sandra Yuen, who's actually been on the show before. Sandra is a visual artist, a musician, and a writer, and has probably been a guest maybe about 3 times, I think. Maybe more. I think more, actually. I think it's more than that. Anyway, and you are one of the authors in Off the Map, the anthology done out of Vancouver, BC here with people with lived experience. And so I just wanted to talk to you about the experience of writing. I know that you've written before. You have a couple other books out.
Yeah, I have a memoir called My Schizophrenic Life, a chopstick, a humorous novel, and another set of novellas from New York to Vancouver, Stories on the Fly.
Stories on the Fly. That sounds like, so there's a bunch of short stories?
Yeah, 3 novellas I wrote with a fellow in New York, long distance.
Wow. That sounds actually fascinating. And now you have several poems in Off the Map. So tell me about the experience of writing.
So when I started writing, like my memoir was written in 2009, 2010. And I think my writing has really evolved since then. I think I've gone through a lot more life experience. And the last few years, it's been a lot of years transition. So the writing has really changed. And I found that moving to prose poetry was a real shift for me. And it was more yet another big story arc. It just had to be really kind of direct and really kind of just play and that kind of thing, and just with words. And drawing a lot from life experience. Had a magic typewriter, an old Remington that I typed on. It was great. That helped me create some great work. And then, I approached this. So anyway, I'm supposed to be coming up with a book this fall on my own, but I think the whole writing thing has really evolved a lot, and it's also a way of journaling as well.
Mm-hmm. How does your writing relate to your visual arts and your music?
Oh, wow. Yeah. So I think creativity is sort of an umbrella really for what I do in my life. I think I've met other artists who have moved to music or moved to other forms of creativity just because it's like how we as creative people live, right? It's like it's not limited to one field.
Right.
And it could be like how you cook, how you arrange your furniture, how you dress. It could be all those things. And I think it's really about it's a lot about self-expression for me. It's a lot about going back to square one. Like, why am I doing this? It's because I need to just let it out and go out through drumming, or let out through literature, or journaling, or through my art. So it's really about actually, just mirroring myself and just drawing from all over, from what I hear in a conversation, what I see on a wall, or what I hear in the news, anything that kind of it can impact me will come through in the art for sure.
Do you find that these different creative outlets give you that they're different language almost, and that you can express some things through writing that you can't express through music, or some things through music that you can't express in visual art?
Oh, definitely. I think, for example, music is very intuitive. I don't really memorize, or I don't really script it. It's just like hearing the music and responding to it. It's very kind of intuitive. The writing is more kind of like automatic writing. So a lot of just, putting it down on paper, and not a lot of editing or rhyming or thinking about meter. It's just words flowing. Even the sounds of words could be important. Whereas the art was more planned. The art was more when I do my house portraits, it's more about exactness and recreating what I'm seeing with the grid system, and being very precise and very exact, reflecting what I'm seeing. The florals I did are a bit more expressive, but even then I was really drawing from what I was seeing. They're maybe more literal than the music.
And of course, you wrote the book My Schizophrenic Life, but the question I ask people, because this is a book about lived experience, how does your mental health tie into what you wrote in the book, or does it?
My memoir?
No, the book, the Off the Map.
Off the Map, yeah. Okay, so the whole book is about, people's experience who have dealt with mental illness. And I would say, I wrote one poem, Turmoil. It was about, anything that can go wrong, everything's getting worse and worse. And at the end, it's, then it's just too much, but some of the poems might be more positive. Like, for example, Shine Like the Morning Sun is more of a very more optimistic, more hopeful type of poem. Whereas something like dramatization of a love story over and over is kind of a bit more dark. So I think it features different parts of my moods, different parts of, the combination. We're all living like complicated beings. So it's like expression of each part of my day or my week, or how I'm feeling when I'm writing. And I found I did write another piece called An Exercise in Drumming, and that's more about, it's a bit humorous too, but it's really about the complicatedness of drumming and how it's so intuitive, but it's so hard. It was hard for me to develop as a drummer because of my schizophrenia and my lack of coordination, and just trying to be left-handed on a right-handed kind of setup. So it really took me a lot to learn how to drum, and it's sort of expressed in that piece how complicated drumming really is. I didn't realize it till I got into it.
Wow. I like what you're saying, because really what you are, when you talk about how your mental health has anything to do with your writing, you are in fact saying exactly what anybody says who is a writer who doesn't have a mental health challenge. And it proves the point that I kind of talked with Seema about around how artists who have mental health challenges should be seen as artists and not as people who are doing art as part of their therapy, because their work is on par with anybody else and done for exactly the same reasons, because everybody, even any writer out there, can make art for exactly the same reason you talked about. Can you read one of your poems for us?
Sure. Which one would you like me to read?
Well, let me see here. I actually like Turmoil. I don't know why. It seems a little maybe a bit pessimistic of me to say that, but I just loved it. So, and it is, we have days exactly like that. So if you can, that would be great.
Thank you very much. Here it is. Turmoil. Turmoil is when you're on the highway, 50 miles from nowhere, and the car overheats. Your phone is dead. You walk for 3 hours in the dark. Find a motel with no vacancy. Restaurants are closed. Run out of cigarettes. Starts to rain. Shoes soak through. Turns to sleet. You fall in the mud. Can't get up. No cops, no ambulance, no one for miles. You see a glow in the distance. It gets closer. A white sedan pulls up. In a tight dress, a perfume woman alights, smiles and extends her gloved hand. You reach out. Instead, she pockets your wallet, nods, and drives off. That's turmoil.
And indeed it is, isn't it? It's very descriptive of, I think, anybody who's gone through one of those times where everything that could go wrong did go wrong, and you just have to get up the next day and start over and hope it doesn't do that. Yeah. Thank you, Sandra, for coming and chatting with us. I've appreciated it.
Thank you so much, Bernadine.
You're welcome. And we'll be right back, folks.
Oh, you hear this? A lot of people call this rock and roll. Swings. This is done with the, let's see, with the left hand, yeah. And the right hand fits in with something like this here. Here we go now.
Yeah, it's called rock and roll, and you can hear all about it on Rock Talk. Discover the hidden but enchanting side of the music. Friday mornings at 9 o'clock.
Oh, if that isn't enchanting, nothing is. Go ahead, kids. Dance. Go crazy.
You're listening to ReThreading Madness on Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. I'm Bernadine Fox, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Quin Martins. Quin, I think you and I have known each other for a long time. I asked Mary O'Toole the same question in the last interview, and it turned out it was like 17 years. So I don't know how long you and I have known each other, but it has been a long time. You are one of the writers in Off the Map, the new anthology that's just out in May of 2025, which is Vancouver Writers with Lived Experience of Mental Health Issues, and it's edited by Betsy, Warland, Seema Shah, and Kate Bird. How did you come to be writing this story and or writing? And maybe actually you can start by telling us a little bit about who you are, other than that you know me.
I'm based in East Vancouver, and primarily I identify as a visual artist. But recently I've also been writing. I guess I started getting into writing when I was a student at Emily Carr. And I was doing kind of academic writing and that sort of thing. And then this is my first sort of attempt at writing fiction. And so what I've written for the anthology is a short story. And it's a science fiction kind of psychological thriller type story.
Well, if this is your first attempt at writing a narrative, a fiction, I mean, I read it. It's a great little story. So well done.
Thank you.
What prompted you to write this story for this anthology?
So I had this idea about this kind of struggling artist, and He's a street photographer with an anxiety disorder. And so it was a way to sort of explore like ideas related to like current issues going on around like privacy and like social media and sort of living in a digital age and sort of concerns that we have these days around AI and stuff. And so it was a way for me to explore those themes, but also to explore some of my struggles with anxiety through this character. And so I was able to really kind of channel my anxieties into this character, Philip Morgan, who's the protagonist of the story. That was kind of like a therapeutic experience for me. Yeah.
And that was what I was just about to get to, which is that not that writing is, is therapeutic just because you have a mental health challenge or whatever, but because I find that when I write, I actually put pieces together that I couldn't before. It's like everything is in your head and not. Once you get it down on a piece of paper, you can start to see the patterns and organize that information in another way. Did it help you with your anxiety?
Yes, it did. Because I was able to like use humor in the story. And so I can like sort of poke some fun at this character he's having a hard time and some of the things he's going through are kind of comical. And so it's sort of like poking fun at myself a little bit. And so that was nice for it to be able to do that.
And this is the first time you've published, I take it, if this is your first non or
My
fixed
first yeah, fictional.
fictional piece, right? How did you find the process of editing?
So I edited closely with one of the editors, Seema Shah,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a really good experience. We had to do like quite a lot of like work back and forth on the story to like fine tune it. But like she was excellent to work with and just was a real pleasure for me to work with her.
Oh, that's good. So it doesn't sound like as you were working, you had to make concessions or compromises that actually took stuff out of your story, which can sometimes
Well,
happen with an editor. So,
yeah, it wasn't always an easy process.
hmm
But like she was really good at explaining like her thoughts around suggestions she was
right.
making.
Well, that's great.
At first, maybe I thought, oh, maybe I wanted it to be this way, not that way. But through talking things through with her, it was like came to a consensus about
Mhm.
how to how to have the story progress and stuff like
That's
that.
great. That's great. Can you read us a part of your story?
Yes, I can. Okay, so the story is called I Tap. Philip Morgan stands in his darkroom, inspecting his freshly developed prints that hang from clothespins. The pungent gasoline-like smell of the developing chemicals fills the air, and the amber red safe light casts a warm glow. The darkroom silence is his sanctuary, grounding him in the present moment. A rarity among photographers today, Philip insists on shooting exclusively in film. For him, this is more than a preference. It is a vital part of his artistic philosophy. He feels the medium captures moments with a depth and richness that digital photography can never match. And like other analog photography enthusiasts, he believes in the value of the artifact, having something real in his hands to hold. As a street photographer with an anxiety disorder, Philip's routine consists of engaging with the world in short bursts and then retreating to his cocoon, his darkroom, to find solace from the external chaos. Today, however, even a safe space doesn't feel safe. Philip's thoughts keep returning to this morning's video call with his daughter Iris. Like most 24-year-olds these days, Iris is a whiz with anything tech related. Eager to support her dad's career, she constantly encourages him to promote his work online. But Philip worries about losing creative control over his images. Not surprisingly, he was completely caught off guard by Iris's call this morning. So, Dad, you finally did it. You decided to upload your photos to the internet. What are you talking about? Those prints you showed me last weekend in your darkroom, I saw them posted on iTap. What the fuck is iTap? It's a new social media app. He could not believe his eyes when Iris shared her screen to show him his unedited photos posted online for all the world to see. This can't be happening, Philip cried out, his sense of reality unraveling. I haven't even scanned the negatives. I feel like a character in one of those dystopian science fiction stories by that Vancouver author whose name I can never remember.
That's wonderful, Quin. And then it's a great beginning because it makes you want to finish reading the story. So I hope people will go out and get this book and be able to finish reading that story. So thank you, Quin. While I have you on here, can you talk a little bit about your visual art as well?
So I like to use humor in my work, and so in the story too, I'm using humor, and I use a lot of text in my work, and sort of have mostly background is doing acrylic painting, but also work in collage and photography, and so yeah, that's where my focus is. I also do a lot of work with found images and found objects and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's one of my favorite things to do is to work with found objects. Although I will tell you, not many people understand it. I don't know what your studio looks like, but mine looks like I hoard garbage because you have all this stuff that is really exciting, but other people see it as a piece of rusty metal. Yeah. So
it's a bit of a problem.
It is a bit of a problem. But you do more than that because you're also a part of the Connection Salon. And we've had Pierre Lechner on to talk about the Connection Salon here in Vancouver. And you're doing a lot of work with people who are outsiders. And, so how long have you been doing that?
Yeah, so, I've been working with the Connection Salon Collective for about 4 years. And then before that, I was a collective member with Gallery Gachet. And so for a long time, I've kind of sort of used my journey with mental health and substance use as a kind of inspiration, for my artwork.
Mm-hmm.
And, doing that and even contributing to this anthology, there is the fear of stigma that comes associated with that, with kind of outing yourself as being someone with history with mental health difficulties.
Right.
But for me, it was really kind of worth it, kind of the opportunity to get my work published. And so.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you, Quin. And thanks for coming and chatting with me and for reading part of your short story for us here on ReThreading Madness. And we'll be right back, folks.
Join Ganarji with guest hosts every Monday from 1 to 2:30 in the afternoon. When Spirit Whispers is where we explore treaties in BC, residential school stories, foster care, and ideas about truth and reconciliation in Canada, plus news on the news. Yo, stop what you're doing when you listen to me, because you might believe what you hear and see, and what you don't believe is that which makes you free. Don't miss this great opportunity to become familiar with your First Nations people and the very pride that has kept us strong. When Spirit Whispers, Mondays at 1 p.m. Yo, open up your mind like a trap design. Yeah, catch what I'm saying like a trap in line. There's more than you, and there's more than me, and there's plenty more online if you don't believe. And if you need some more convincing, spend the night alone in a residential school building. Sometimes the lights go out.
You're listening to ReThreading Madness on Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. I'm Bernadine Fox. ReThreading Madness is coming up to its 6th anniversary of being on air. We produce and air each week out of CFRO 100.5 FM on the unceded traditional territory of the Squamish, Musqueam, and Tsleil-Waututh nations around Vancouver, BC. RTM was one of the first radio programs to focus on mental health issues here in Canada, in an area swamped with statements from therapists rooted in colonial ideas about mental health and trained in the DSM. RTM works to ensure that the voices of those with lived experience have agency and opportunity to define who they are and what is true for them. Who listens to us? Beyond those with lived experience, our audience includes their friends and partners, along with therapists, counselors, and students of psychology. Since 2022, all of our programs have been uploaded to the Mental Health Radio Network and can be downloaded from all podcast platforms. So if this show was of interest to you, you might find the rest of our programs informative as well. You can find them by searching for ReThreading Madness wherever you listen to your podcasts.
I'm a little unsteady, I'm a little lost inside, and my heart stays heavy. I don't say what's on my mind, and I think it's starting to show. Can you tell I'm losing control? Feel like I'm broken to so many pieces, don't know if you can fix me. And can somebody take this pain? I'm just not the same. I'm so lost and confused, don't know what else to do. Can you help me? Can you help me? Can somebody take this pain? I just wanna change. I'm so done trying to prove that I know where to move. God help me, can you help me? Cause I've tried all the smoking and the drinking, wasting time. Yeah, I've tried all the running, hiding from the pain inside. I can't lie, broken heart is what I find. So I know that I can't help me. Can somebody take this pain? I'm just not the same. I'm so lost and confused, don't know what else to do. Can you help me? Can you help me? Can somebody take this pain? I just wanna change. I'm so done trying to prove that I know where to move. God help me. Can you help me? Can you help me? Oh, can you help me? Can you help me? Can you help me? Take this pain. I'm not the same. Cause I'm lost, confused, don't know what to do. Can you help me? Can you help me? Can somebody take this pain? I just wanna change. I'm so done trying to prove that I know where to move. God help me. Can you help me?
You're listening to ReThreading Madness on Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM. I'm Bernadine Fox, and right now I'm with Merle Ginsburg, who is a writer in Off the Map, Vancouver Writers with Lived Experience of Mental Health Issues. That was edited by Betsy, Warland, and Seema Shah and Kate Bird. Merle has worked in and around mental health for many, many years, but she's also written about mental health in columns, in newspapers, and now in the book Off the Map. So welcome, Merle. Thanks for coming.
Thank you, Bernadine. It's a pleasure to be here.
Tell us what inspired you to write this particular poem? And the one in Off the Map is called The Cost.
That's right. Well, I actually work with an expressive arts therapist, and we work through my writing. So I had started The Cost maybe 6 months ago or longer, and we talked a fair bit about it, and I just, added to it and did a little bit of editing. I think the purpose of it was because this illness, manic depression, is very hard to describe to people, anyone and everyone. And it's also, for me, what it felt like when I felt a shift of mood, or when I was nervous, and when I felt frightened, because this illness is very big. So this is what happened. I just wrote down how I felt and used metaphors, and it just took on a life of its own. Some of the metaphors are based on dreams. Some of the things are just, how I felt, and I just put the words to paper. So that's how it started. And I hope people get some kind of understanding from it of what it's like to live with illness.
Mm-hmm. Does writing solve something for you that you don't get somewhere else? It does.
No, it does. I mean, I think for me, it's a very powerful way of expressing yourself, and providing some comfort, and again, understanding. And I've had manic depression for so long, it's 40 years, and I'm still not sure sometimes of how I'm feeling and how it's affecting myself and others, that it just helps for me, this kind of expression, yes, is very, very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And helpful as a result.
I agree. I write, and I am able to put things together when I write that I can't put together any other form of creative activity ever. Not talking to people, not art, not dance. If I try and do that, because I am disabled, so it makes it a little harder. But writing settles into my brain in a way that allows me to put things together that I haven't been able to do before. So can you tell us a little bit about the poem that you read at the book launch, of which I absolutely adored? And I don't usually like poems, just so you know how much that means when I say I absolutely adored your poem. It was just great, and it really pulled me in, and I wanted to hear the next line and the next line and the next line. So can you, is there anything else that you want to say about the poem, or can you give us more about the poem before you read it, or can you just read? What would you like?
I think that I've shared how it came about, and the metaphors, and okay, what my wish is for others who read it or hear it. So I think that probably this is a good time to read, and what I'll do is read the introduction that will just flow into the poem.
Great. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So this would be the cost and the introduction. I've lived with manic depression for many years. I've learned that it breeds isolation and pain. I'm not a stranger to either. I feel compelled to tell you that it has also enriched my life with a profound beauty and sensitivity that I wouldn't have had otherwise. The title of my poem is The Cost. Born without a layer of skin, I have scarlet red skin. It glistens, it stings, it's raw, it's smoky. Fishnet, my skin is fishnet, like the diamond-shaped stockings. Energy the color black storms through me. It's not mine, but it becomes mine. It's a living furnace that doesn't have time to brew. It's on fire. ready to explode. There is impossible strength. It's a plane slowly climbing to the forbidden zone. It has no compass, no boundaries. It shakes with power silently. It's the grizzly bear facing me, his paws over my living room ledge. I look to the other ledge. He's waiting for me with long, perfect, menacing claws. It's the tiny birds. Their bodies are puffy. Their feathers are sticky. Their eyes are pinheads. Their beaks are open because they can't breathe. It's the rolling thunder in the distance. There's no lightning. It doesn't need an introduction. It's the rolling thunder in the distance coming for me.
And that is just as beautiful as when I heard you read it at the book launch. One of the lines in it that I love, but I love it more when I hear you say it, is that it has no compass, no boundaries. It shakes with power silently. It's a very powerful statement.
Yes.
Yes. So thanks for coming and chatting with us about your poem. And I'm hoping lots of people are able to find this book and get it and read it, because it has, I think, 34 writers in it, all talking about mental health.
Yes.
So very powerful book. So thank you, Merle. And we'll be right back,
Thank you very
folks.
much, Bernadine.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And we'll be right back, folks. And that's our show. My thanks to Seema Shah, Quin Martins, Sandra Yuen, and Merle Ginsburg for sharing their writing with us. Music today was by Sherry Ulrich and Jake Banfield. And to you, our listeners, thank you for joining us today. Stay safe out there. You've just listened to ReThreading Madness, where we dare to change how we think about mental health. We air live on Vancouver Co-op Radio, CFRO 100.5 FM, every Tuesday at 5 p.m. or online at coopradio.org. If you have questions or feedback about this program, or want to share your story, or have something to say to us, we want to hear from you. You can reach us by email, rethreadingmadness@coopradio.org. This is Bernadine Fox. We'll be back next week. Until then.
When I've never been further, knowing what the hell I'm gonna do. When I can't seem to find my way, under or over or through. Just when I'm ready to give up the fight, there you are when we turn out the lights, and it's alright, it's alright, don't you worry, it'll be alright. Why do I always believe it when you tell me everything's gonna be alright? Yeah. Why don't I wonder how you know? Well, surely you don't have all of the facts. You could be just making it up. Why don't I ever think of that? It's some kind of magic in the words that you breathe, saying, baby, take it from me. It's alright, it's alright, don't you worry, it'll be alright. Why do I always believe it when you tell me everything's gonna be alright? Everything's gonna be alright. With anyone else, it's such a cliche, just words people say to be